So, you want to be a cosplayer? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to So You Want to Be a Cosplayer. It's me, Noah, Freakish Workshop. It's been a minute since we had an upload, and I really appreciate you checking this video out, considering it hasn't been a very consistent series. But regardless, I have a banger for you today, guys. It is Boomster Joe. We are going to be talking today about hobby electronics. He has a phenomenal, and you're going to hear more about it. The fact that this was like one of his first cosplays, head to toe, is wild because it is phenomenal. We're going to talk about hobby electronics, how to essentially get into attaching lights, maybe some fans, maybe some servos, that kind of thing into your cosplays, and really take your cosplay up to the next level. Throughout this series, and I'll say this again in the video, I constantly say, you don't have to make a working Iron Man suit for your first cosplay. This episode is to show you that, well, if you're willing to take the time, invest in it financially, and do your research and just be a little bit patient, you absolutely can. So without further ado, let's jump into this week's episode. Again, like and subscribe, bell, all that kind of stuff. But let's jump in with Joe here and have a great episode. Hey everybody, welcome back to So You Want to Be a Cosplayer. It's been a minute since I did one of these videos, and that's because there was a handful of topics that I wanted to address, but I hadn't met the right people to bring on because obviously, beginning of the series, it was just me talking. It's just my perspective, and that's not what this is about. This is not me preaching at you. I wanted to bring different perspectives and different specialists in for you as beginner cosplayers or people who are just interested in developing different skills within the cosplay world. To bring those different experiences and specialities and everything to you guys. And so it's not just me sitting here preaching at you. Today, I got a killer guest, man. I have only recently met him, and wow, he has exploded across my cosplay sphere, at least. Boomster Joe is a phenomenal creator. He does a lot of 3D printing, as you're going to see in the background of his workshop, the room there. But without further ado, let's jump into it because I'm just going to let him. He's great. Let's just jump right into it. Hello, Joe. How's it going?
Hi, Noah. Hi, everybody. Noah, thank you for that amazing introduction. Wow. Yeah, I love that.
No, absolutely, man. It was great. It's one of the best parts about the cosplay world is when you meet the right people, iron sharpens iron, and you on my page, just like, oh, that's really cool. Just constantly, oh, that's really cool. I got to try that. Oh, I can't wait to see, like, constantly inspiring. And I know that I'm not the only one. So it was really, really cool. And I'm glad, I know you were on your trip recently, which is really cool. So I'm glad we were able to we both were on trips. So I was glad we were able to get this going because I think this is a really, really cool topic. And you have a very unique perspective on it, considering you're doing a very famous, as you guys can see in the background there, a very iconic costume. So let's just dive right in, Joe. Let's start off with a lot of the basic questions that you answer for every podcast you've been on, and I've seen you do a couple of them recently. So just introduce yourself and then kind of do a little explaining, if you wouldn't mind, just how you kind of started cosplaying, how long you've been doing it, that kind of thing.
For sure. Sounds good. Yep. I'm Boomster Joe, but my real name is Joseph. You can call me either. And I guess this is the first cosplay I made head to toe. When I got into cosplay, I wish I could say that was the goal. It was actually when I got a 3D printer, I knew from the beginning, the first thing I wanted to do was make an Iron Man suit. I knew that would be fun and exciting. So as soon as I got a 3D printer, I made the Iron Man helmet, and in between making the suit, I made a Wolverine cowl. I made a Daredevil cowl. So that kind of helped to definitely develop some of the skills with like finishing and making things look good. And then I think just naturally when you have stuff like that, Comic-Con was coming around last year, just last year, Comic-Con 2025. I had something to wear, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try cosplay. So last year was the first time, as Wolverine and Daredevil, the first time I dipped a toe into cosplay, and it was amazing. It was fun. I was hooked. Yeah. Did I answer the question? I think?
Yeah, absolutely, you did. Yeah. So VonCon is the first time that we met in person. I think that we had been like mutuals or followers previous to that, and obviously we were in the very like a lot of the same circles, Geeks and Co, Myers Corp Cosplay, that kind of thing. Which you're talking about 3D printing. If you guys are interested, we're not going to be necessarily talking about a lot of 3D printing specifics in this episode, guys. But if you do want to, I do have an episode. It should be popping up to the right of the screen here, where I talk with JS and Rob of Geeks and Co about 3D printing. So I definitely recommend that. Today, we're going to be focusing on hobby electronics because that is becoming more and more like I've been talking. I talked with some judges of costume contests a little while ago. Another episode that I've done with Avera Cosplay, where she was talking about multimedia. Like costumes can't just be foam anymore for contests, and we're kind of seeing that more with hobby electronics. More and more people trying to do lights and sound, and I mean, smoke machines are now becoming a thing in big cosplays. And so I wanted to bring you on specifically because the Iron Man suit is so iconic. There's some amazing, iconic moving parts, lights and fans and all that kind of stuff in that suit. And so it was a great example. So what I'm hearing you say, which is crazy because of how great how awesome and it ended up looking and the accomplishment that it is, Iron Man was really the first time you had done hobby electronics within costumes. Is that correct?
That's absolutely right. Yeah, I want to be transparent. I don't have an electronics background. I never, no one taught me how to program or solder or use any of the tools. I had to sort of just, I don't know, I guess I just learned it on my own. Yeah. And so it's totally approachable. I'm just saying, like, if an average Joe like me can do this, like I feel like, yeah, if you want it bad enough, anyone can learn to do this. You don't really need the education. It does help. It definitely helps. But yeah, so if you've never approached electronics before and servos and programming and all that, man, this is the podcast for you. This is the episode for you, right? Like, it's gonna be super helpful.
That's what I'm hoping. And yeah, exactly. Like that's, and I remember reaching out to you and going, "Hey, let's do this." And you were, again, very transparent and going, "Hey, by the way, I have like, this isn't like, I'm not educated in this or whatever, like however you phrased it," which is great. Cause that's exactly what I'm looking for. I bought a 3D printer and I made an Iron Man helmet and then it kind of just turned into something more. That's exactly what we're looking for here on So You Want to Be a Cosplayer. So really appreciate you coming down. Yeah, I mean, exactly like you say, it's very approachable, and nowadays I find it's very affordable. I myself, as I mentioned before, I had just started doing hobby electronics. I had friends that have helped me previously with things. I have a voice modulator that a friend helped me wire up with a mute button and stuff like that, which is really cool. I am like I'm nowhere near programming that kind of stuff. However, when I made Rhino, which we both got to experience at London Comic-Con, I got to use, oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, you had the clips there. So you can see there, guys. I promise this episode is more supposed to be about Booster Joe, but you can see there I've got some lights, and what you guys can't see and what I'm going to include now is I actually, for the first time ever, I included some computer fans in the helmet itself. I knew right away I needed some stuff to cool me down or just move the air around in the helmet, because this thing's, you were there, Joe. I was 7 feet tall and all the foam wasn't breathing, and it was a monstrosity of a costume. But because of that, I'm now way more confident in, oh yeah, I can throw some lights together. Absolutely. That's totally something I can do. Even though, and then especially because of like Amazon and that kind of thing. We'll get into that in just a second here as well. It seems like it's pretty affordable too. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it definitely can be. I mean, some of the LEDs that I got, I
Mhm.
just got them from like the dollar store, something like this. It was like $2, right? And again, I just ripped it out of the casing. You can implement this into your cosplay, and boom, there you go. You all of a sudden have electronics, right? uh, it can be so affordable. As well as if you wanted to get even more complicated, yeah, it could get pricey, I guess, right? Because it starts to add up. Microcontrollers, the tools, all that stuff, the components. So it guess it depends. It depends on what you want out of it, right? Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Yep. Yeah. No. Absolutely. There's so many times where I go, "Oh, that's a cool light. I'm going to get rid of everything but the electronics inside."
Yeah. Yeah.
To move around
Rip it
toy.
out.
Yeah, exactly. Toy guns, or even just, I mean, nowadays you can just get reels of LED light from like the LED strips from the dollar store, like you're saying, right? And then those can essentially, how do you, I mean, let's just jump right into it. Um, like when you're thinking about adding electronics to a 3D print file, let's just start there. Um, did you have to go searching for 3D files that had room for electronics already built into them? Or did you have to learn how to do that? Or did you, I guess three questions in one. Did you have to then like print the piece, let's just say, the chess piece? And then did you have to like kind of use a Dremel tool or something like that to make room for the electronics? What was the process there?
Yeah, I think a little bit of everything.
Mm,
I don't do 3D. I don't know how to 3D model. So
okay.
I definitely can't take credit for the 3D modeling of the suit. It was
Mhm.
done by Walsh 3D and Vec 3D. I always say they're the Da Vinci's of our time. They make amazing stuff. They designed it so that motorization was a thing that you can do,
Mm,
which is awesome. And so you just have to take the ball and run with it. However, there were some stuff with it, like the arc reactor. I had to figure that out. There was just a hole, and the casing again. It was actually the casing of a cheap LED that I bought at the dollar store, a dome light,
mhm,
and combined that with a programmable LED. So I kind of had to um, make that arc reactor work. Everything else, though, the airfoils, the faceplate moving up and down, that was already pre-designed by the 3D modelers. So you kind of just have to, print it out and make it work. So I guess it depends. It depends on
mhm,
what you want to do. It definitely helps if your 3D model already is designed for motorization, right? So I got lucky
mhm,
with this. And where there's stuff that you have to just figure out on your own,
mhm,
like again, I find doing your research helps.
mhm,
Having resources that you can draw on. Yeah,
mhm. Yeah. Okay. Great.
it's helpful.
I'll make sure those of you who are watching, links to both of those makers will probably just be down below because it sounds like a great resource that other people can grab a hold on. So in that case, when it comes to, it sounds like there was a lot of moving parts. Pun very much intended. What was your favorite part about? Um, like, had you done any sort of like robotics class before in high school or anything, or was it very much your first time working on everything there?
It was definitely my first time.
Okay.
I've never had um, any sort of background in this.
Okay.
I kind of so I found my number one resource to
Hmm.
learn was YouTube. YouTube is so good.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
YouTube
Yeah.
University,
Yeah.
So there are amazing videos, amazing content creators,
Hmm.
that will break it down for you.
Hmm.
So depending on what you're looking um, for me it was pretty easy. It was just looking up how to hook up a servo to a microcontroller, and then how to hook up the battery to the microcontroller, and things like that. A button, and eventually you just get this, I guess, piece of work that
Hmm.
I mean, you hope and you pray that it'll all come together and work and not catch
Yeah.
on fire,
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Yeah, and unfortunately, you don't have that like robotic arm with the fire extinguisher
Dummy.
attached to it, right? Dummy. Yeah, you don't have one of those. No,
Yeah.
okay, great. I mean, that's really really cool. So, I mean, when it comes to, let's say, sourcing materials, right? Let's jump into that because a lot of people
Cool.
will go, "That's really really cool. I'm totally open to learn. Where do I get this stuff?" As we've talked about before, you can go to Dollarama stuff. The for me, again, it's one of the topics that I get to talk about, which is really really cool. I love those ones. I love the ones where I also learn. So I'm also learning in this one, which is really cool because I want to do more eventually when it comes to hobby electronics. For me, it was very much like dollar store USB cords. I know there's red and there's black cords in there. I'll just chop off the USB ends, and then there I've got a length of cord. Was that very similar, or are some of the resources you use, did they have like almost like a shopping list of here's where to get everything, or did you kind of have to figure that out on your own?
Yeah, I definitely had to figure it out. Well, however, I did get some help. So, for example, one of the places where I got some of my components was Sayal Electronics in Vaughan. Now, that was a tip that I got from a cosplayer doing a panel in 2024 at Fan Expo. So they mentioned that. I'm like, okay, I'll check out that store. And yeah, they have great prices, great stuff. However, I got my USB cords there as well as some switches, but they didn't have everything.
Mhm.
So I also bought most of my stuff. I bought on Amazon. However, there's this site called X2 Robotics. Now, when it comes to servos, okay, Tower Pros apparently are like the best on the market, right? Notoriously difficult to find. On Amazon, they'll have a lot of knockoffs, right? It looks identical. Yeah. So either way, they'll have a lot of knockoffs. I found a Canadian site called X2 Robotics, and they sell everything. They sell microcontrollers, all that stuff. However, the main thing that I found there was the Tower Pro MG90S servos, tiny servos. They're used for remote control cars and drones. Either way, that's what lifts and brings down the faceplate of my Iron Man suit.
That's what I was going to ask, is what piece do the servos operate?
Yeah.
Okay, so they lifted that up, and would you say for what you're doing, like, I think people are going to assume, okay, I'm making an Iron Man suit, it's going to be expensive because I'm 3D printing. You have to have a 3D printer. I gotta have to finish it and all that, everything else. I'm going to make a moving Iron Man suit, a semi-functional Iron Man suit. That's going to be even more expensive. Would you say though that the price of the robotic components, if you're smart, I'm guessing it's very much just like any other form of cosplay. If you're smart, it's rather affordable for what you're doing. Does that make sense? Like the value compared to the cost is sort of balanced, would you say? Or were there some prices that surprised you?
In fact, yes. So, yes, the prices surprised me in a way that I didn't realize how affordable it can be.
Well, there we go.
Electronics, LEDs, servos. It's not bad. There's obviously an investment, right?
Yes.
But I thought I'd be spending actually a lot more than I did. I think the motorization of everything probably was, maybe I spent like $200, buying two servos for the helmet. I have 3 microcontrollers in this thing, 4 larger servos doing the airfoils.
Airfoils are the back fins.
The back, yeah. I just call them airfoils.
No, it's all good. The technical terms, I start talking like when I do medieval armor. I'm like the gorget and the pauldron, and people go, I have no idea what you're talking about. So I get it.
Yeah, it was just a name I gave it. I don't know if anybody else calls it that. I saw that airplanes, apparently they use that terminology. So I'm like, yeah, I'll take that. Either way, regardless, that the power banks, it will eventually it adds up. But I think if you can be wise about it, like I love how you went to the dollar store, you got something and then you got like the wires, for example, right? And you
Mhm.
repurpose those. Yeah, so that's wise. That's smart. If you can find ways to do that, yeah,
Mhm.
do it, because all this stuff is the same. The wires, the solder, the tool. Either way, like it's all used in the same stuff. I find there's no real difference. You don't have to buy everything brand new. Yeah.
That's the other part, right? Yeah, a lot of soldering pens or irons or whatever the terminology is. I find you can find pretty cheap just on like Kijiji or Facebook Marketplace, and usually they work just the same. Especially like you just need to melt the soldering, and it's not that hard to melt soldering. The heat level isn't that insane. And
You know,
I mean, hey, since I did a little bit of the friend who helped me with the voice modulator, he was kind of talking me through it, and I went over and he was showing me what he was doing and stuff. And I remember looking into just the soldering kit, and I remember just a basic beginner Amazon choice soldering kit, and it's already gone down in price since the last time I looked. Like between the two versions, it's gotten cheaper, which is really
yeah.
really cool to see.
Yeah, and it's totally fine. It works. Like it does the work, right? Does the job.
Mhm.
Me too. I sort of got something that was affordable,
Mhm.
and it did everything for this. It soldered all the wires, and yeah, it helped me with the electronics. Hasn't failed me at all. Yeah.
And I would say it's also like if you guys watching are still going servos and microcontrollers and blah, go buy a toy car, go buy a strip of LEDs, and just play around. Spend, well, I don't know, what would you say if you got a soldering kit, which on average is what, like $20 online, Joe? At this point, like it's really
Yeah, I
cheap
think
to get
so.
them, or find someone who's a woodworker, and sometimes they have the pens just by accident because they're it's a great wood burner tool. Go to the dollar store, spend, I don't know, $10 on a few things, get a USB cord, get a toy car or an LED strip, and just play around and get a bit more comfortable. I remember the first time I worked, and Joe, I'm assuming yours is the same. After the first time you hook something up and you plug the battery in and it works, immediately you're like, oh, I can do this. I can do this again. All right, let's keep going to the next thing, right?
Yeah, totally. It really changes the story. I find, so at least for me, getting over the anxiety of not knowing how to do it was the hardest part. Doing the actual like work, it's not too tough, especially if you repeat it over and over again. You get enough practice.
Yeah.
I find it becomes easy. It's simple. There are some things to consider. So, like if we're talking about soldering, for example,
Yeah.
um, there is like lead in solder.
Mhm.
So, you want to be mindful of that. You want to wash your hands after, you don't want to touch food while you're doing it. Just stuff like that. Especially if you're teaching kids to do it, they should probably wear gloves, things like that, a mask, right? So definitely do your research on the safety part of it. However, yeah, the task itself, it definitely gets easier. And then the story of it changes. All of a
Mhm.
sudden, cosplay electronics stop becoming like magic, and it stops becoming scary, and it becomes fun, And that's really what it's about, right? So yeah.
Well, it's really funny you say that because I think there's a few episodes now where I've said, "Remember, guys, your first cosplay doesn't have to be a functioning Iron Man suit." And then Joe's like, "Yes, it does. Yes, you can do that. Let me show you how." And like, I mean, another great. You're talking about research. You're talking about YouTube stuff, guys. Joe's got an amazing Instagram where you show a lot of the work behind your videos are very well edited. It's really, really fun to watch. It's also just really educational as well. So if you guys are like, I mean, if you guys are watching this video and you guys haven't already while you're watching, gone and followed him, please do. Do you have a YouTube or is it just Instagram at this point?
Yeah, I'm pretty much on all socials. I
There you
started a
go.
YouTube channel recently.
There we go.
I'm on Instagram. I'm
Hmm.
on TikTok and Facebook. Yeah, either way, all the socials. And as I said, I mean, as you said, learning after learning everything,
Hmm.
I found I found the next logical step was to share it, to share what I learned. I want people to know that electronics, even just building an entire Iron Man suit it's approachable. It can be understood. So if I could do anything to like help people, get to that point, like, yeah, I definitely want to share it. I definitely want people to know.
Absolutely, yeah, and
Yeah.
obviously we appreciate that, and that's the whole point of being on here.
Yeah,
So.
you totally get it, because I saw your recent video on the tactical vest that you made, right?
Yes,
And I'm like,
yes.
there you go, that's it. I'm like, that's a great video. You really show people a simple way. Sorry, not simple way, but it's explained, really
Mm,
well how to get
mhm.
it, how to do that, how to get it done. And watching that, it's inspiring, right? Like
Mm.
it really helps people to think, yeah, I think I can do that. So, and that's a great experience, right? Like that feels good.
Absolutely. No,
Yeah.
absolutely. And that's the whole point of So You Want to Be a Cosplayer, which is why we're talking. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, absolutely. I will have again, most of the links and the places that we're talking about today, guys, will be down in the description. I looked up X2 robotics while we had it so that I had the link ready to go for when we post this. Now, when it comes to let's take a look. We're talking about all the positives and everything, which is great because that's what we want. However, I think it's also just as important, encouraging and inspiring and going, you got this. I think it's also important just to let people know about some things that they probably need to know ahead of time that might be a bit more difficult. So, when you started, what are some challenges that you think someone that like, I don't know, I don't necessarily know if anyone was kind of telling you or encouraging you while you were doing this, and whether or not essentially what I'm getting to is is there anything when it comes to some difficulties or some things that maybe, and I hate to use the word mistake, but you know what I'm saying, some mistakes that you may have made where if you had known about them ahead of time or known to do A instead of B first, is there anything that you could like let people know when they're starting hobby electronics for cosplay, let them know ahead of time so they know to either know that it's coming up, they should deal with it, or some mistakes that they can kind of bypass.
Right. No, yeah, that's an excellent question. Actually, it is good that we talk about this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the first thing that comes to mind is I made the mistake of painting everything before I got into the electronics. When you start experimenting with electronics, especially if it's your first time, you just might scratch your costumes, your cosplay, and that's what I did. I mean, like if I were to do it again, I would definitely work on all the electronics and motorization before finalizing the painting, because you want it pristine when you hit that con floor. So that's definitely one thing that I would say. Another is I already mentioned that YouTube was a great resource. Another really awesome resource is taking advantage of the time we live in, and we live in a time of AI. So as I said before, I don't know programming. I've never programmed anything before in my life. And so I also didn't know anyone who did programming. So I used ChatGPT to help me program the microcontrollers for Iron Man. And I wish I could say that I just told ChatGPT, give me the code, and it worked. No, it was a lot of back and forth, you know. But eventually, I learned how to create the right prompts with ChatGPT, and we got it working. It's not perfect. A lot of this stuff that I've done, it's not perfect, but it works. It's good
Mm-hmm.
enough.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's. I don't want to rant too long, but those are two things I can definitely say.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to do it again, something to keep in mind. Yeah.
That's great. I just on the foam side of things, it's the same for foam. There's actually a piece I'm working on now where I'm realizing, oh, to paint everything, I'm gonna need to keep it in pieces, paint it, build it, and then that way there's no like it's a moving piece. And so when I do this from that angle, you're going to be able to see if there's no paint if I build it and then paint it. So just looking ahead and figuring out function and making sure that everything's sort of lined up that way before painting totally makes sense.
Yeah.
When it comes to, and we've talked about where to get it, which is great because a lot of people go, okay, I'm ready for a servo. Where do I get that? Which is great. So, I mean, when it comes to, let's break it down even further. What kind of tools or materials would you say are sort of like a must-have for beginner hobby electronics? I know I love this topic too.
I'm like getting excited. I'm like, ooh, tools.
Here we go.
This is so weird because I didn't really consider myself as like a tools and electronics guy, you know, but now I get excited. I actually have them right here because this is where I build stuff.
Awesome.
So this is one tool. This is a wire stripping tool. Do you ever use this? Have you ever?
I didn't. I was using a craft knife and like fiddling myself. Yeah, I know there's the tool out there, but I was so like, I just didn't. I was so focused on just trying to get it done. So yeah, that makes sense.
No, yeah, that's cool, right? That's OG wire stripping, right? Either way, I found this was a tool that I was using, oh man, like 50 times a day, you know, like you put your wire in and then it strips it, you know, like it's super fast. Another thing, because we talked about soldering, right? I use these, I don't know what these are called, solder seal wire connectors. And so you take, I don't know if you can see it, but I guess you can kind of get, it's like a makeup tutorial or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, the influencers. So
yeah, absolutely.
Today we're gonna look at it. No. Okay. This is a soldering tube. There's solder in the middle. So you take two wires, you put them in, and then you heat it with a heat gun, and then it does all the soldering for you. You know what I mean? Like it shrinks, the heat shrinks it, and it'll connect two wires. And then obviously, right, since we talked about that, a heat gun. This is definitely something, even if you don't do electronics, I'm sure if you work with EVA foam, people have a heat gun, right?
I have that exact heat gun.
yeah. This is the best.
It's great, right? Man.
Yeah. Again, like, and I think I got all this stuff off of Amazon. I'm sure if you can find, deals at your local hardware store, then that's great. Regardless, either way, if you can afford it, if you can swing it, having the right tools definitely helps. Otherwise, totally, you can strip a wire with just a knife, right? Like,
although be very careful with that, folks. That was not the smartest thing to do. It was just a knife, but no, I did not cut myself. I was very, very thankful for that.
Good.
But no, I when it comes to, if you guys have watched my foam crafting 101 videos, or really if you've seen me talk about anything when it comes to crafting, I go materials you can skimp out on, and find cheap budget things. Don't do that with tools. Get a good knife. Get good paintbrushes, that kind of thing. I would definitely recommend, especially with hobby electronics. You're dealing with voltage and all that kind of stuff. So PPE, any of the tools, that kind of thing. I think I myself would also recommend that. So, and would you say when it comes to just a soldering, I don't know, is it a soldering pen? I don't know. I don't know. It looks like an airbrush gun sometimes to me. So
yeah, that's definitely what I used. And then I also have something similar to melt 3D prints together. I know that's not really electronics, but similar tools. A soldering iron, right? Yeah.
That's what. Yeah, soldering iron. There we go. Yeah. And would you say just like, your basic $20 Amazon thing, like the basic level one, or would you suggest like for example, for me, like, yes, for foam crafting, yes, the basic airbrush is great and it'll get it done. However, if you want some like really nice detail work and to get that gauge, like the spray down to minute details, you're going to want to have to spend the next level up. Would you say that's the same with soldering irons, or is the basic level just totally fine? Would you say?
Yeah, I think basic is fine. If anything, I found myself changing the tip, I don't
Hmm.
know, the hot iron part. I've had
Yep.
to change it out a few times.
Hmm.
Otherwise, yeah, it works great. If anything, as well, is to monitor the temperature. I think
Yeah.
they have like a way to change how hot it can be. If your soldering iron has that, that's great, right? That'll really help. And other than that, yeah, I'm just using a basic soldering iron kit, which I think was like 30 or $40 on Amazon. You know, it
And I
served
know
me
that
well.
you can get them at most kind of hobby shops as well nowadays. Like not, let's say,
Nice.
Michael's or Joann's or something like that. But if you find places that sell like model planes or cars, that kind of thing, I find that you can typically find a soldering kit there, although they might have a little markup on it. So that's up to you.
Servos. You can
Um,
also find servos in those stores as
oh,
well. So
perfect. There we go.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's another thing I actually wanted to mention, and I forgot to mention. We both live in Canada, so there's some locations where like I know where you're talking about. There we go.
Yeah.
Perfect. So yeah, some of the places we're talking about, guys. If you're down in the U.S. or even in Europe or the U.K., it might be a little bit different. You'll just have to kind of find something similar enough. Bunnings, that kind of thing, if you're in New Zealand or Australia, that type of thing. So I mean, it's part of what you're saying, right? Do the research. I also am going, okay, when it comes to foam crafting, you have to think about, where am I buying all this foam? Don't just like buy the foam and go, oh crap, I need whichever foam that you're missing. I would say do your research, make like a grocery list essentially of where things are, where to buy them. Could you find a cheaper option somewhere else? Is kind of what I'm hearing you say you should also do for electronic work.
Yeah, you know what I love about conventions and cosplay is you meet all sorts of people, before I got into cosplay, I didn't know anybody, but now in
Mm,
this past year, like I've met so many people. Don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask other cosplayers. Yeah, I haven't met anyone that hasn't been, willing to share their knowledge. People can help you find where to, get these things, as well
mhm.
as where to get them for like affordable prices. This is really good help. So I'd say, yeah, definitely don't be afraid to ask people.
No, and I mean, we've also talked. I think almost every single guest I've talked to on this show um, have all said that, which is awesome to hear. Because
Yeah.
I'm not like, someone asks me something online and I go, oh yeah, and I'll make sure that I answer to the best of my ability and everything. So it's really good to hear that as well, because I think a lot of people, and this is a whole other topic, ladies and gentlemen, but can sometimes look online and they can kind of see a lot of people that are a bit more self-righteous within the cosplay community, and they're a bit more, you know, to themselves, and they don't want to share their secrets because all the success and whatever. But I find when you actually get on the con floor and you talk to someone and go, hey, how'd you do that? And you just, not touching a costume without permission, but motioning in that general direction, how'd you do the Iron Man helmet thing? Every cosplayer I've talked to goes, oh, please let me tell you, I have been waiting to tell you how I made this.
Yeah, we're all geeks,
So
right? So
oh
we all
yeah,
get excited about it. Yeah.
it's the iron sharpens iron, mentality. I come off of I mean, like, first time we met at VonCon, you were doing your Daredevil, and I went, I've been wanting to do a Daredevil helmet, and he has a Daredevil. Can I see your Daredevil? I just want to see what are the shapes like, what are the angles like, and it was. I have a great photo of like my foam Batman cowl and your Daredevil, and it's like a 3D print and a foam, and like I was learning off of that, which is really really cool. Which is a great first impression as well. I think. Of learning from someone you've just met. I think that's a very unique experience, which is again part of the reason why I wanted to do this. Is a lot of people may, they're just about to go to their first convention, or they're going, oh, Comic Con's on the corner. I want to do cosplay. How do I even get into that? this show, ladies and gentlemen, is how you get in. No, there's tons of other research, but hopefully this helps you as well. Now, I know you're working on a new costume. I'm very excited for said costume because that character does not get enough cosplay love, in my opinion. Is that something like are you feeling like I'm bringing you on for Hobby Electronics. Obviously, Iron Man is a big popular costume, and I know when I first moved to Southern Ontario, a lot of people were like, "Oh, you're the Green Goblin guy," and then it was always questions about Green Goblin. Even though I still bring him out and everything. Are you planning on doing more electronics for your next I don't know. I think you've announced it online, but I just don't know if you want to announce it on here as well.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, Shredder.
Right? Shredder. So are you Shredder, guys? It looks awesome. I'm so stoked for it. Are you putting electronics in there? Is Hobby Electronics going to be something you want to do going forward, or is it more of a one-time thing? Like, does that make sense?
Oh, definitely. I mean, okay. You know what? The work excites me. So anytime I think of a new cosplay, I'm like, I wonder what I could implement in it. Like that's what happens when you get into this cosplay electronics. It really shapes how you approach your own work. And then it gets you thinking. I'm like, I wonder what I could add here. I wonder if lights would look good there. So I've definitely thought about it, and like, we'll see. Well, depending on how much time I have, it would be totally cool to see a version of Shredder that moves. Blades that stick out. Regardless, I also want it to be safe for not just for me, but for the people around me. So like, yes. Sometimes you kind of just have to be like, okay, maybe this is too wild of an idea. Let's always find a way to make it safe.
For sure.
Either way. It definitely shapes how you approach your own work. Actually, I wanted to ask you, is there like a different type of foam that you'd use when it comes to cosplay electronics, or does any foam work?
That's a great question. I would say that when you're attaching electronics to foam, in my experience, most of my electronics are actually glued down to foam board. So to get the rigidity of the helmet that I wanted, so the Rhino helmet in particular, do I have? No, he's all the way over there buried. The entire structure of Rhino's helmet is foam board on it so that it's rigid and it's got a structure. And then I've wrapped it in foam. But the best part about it is then I can use hot glue to put the wires into corners and everything. And so I feel like in that case, that's probably better. I think what I'm getting at is that the denser the foam, it might be a little bit better to glue electronics to. For the primary reason that if you have soft foam, if you've got a lower density foam, so a bit more spongy, it will move and it will twist and it will bend and shrink and it will also expand. When it comes to heat. And so you don't want your electronics like falling off while you're wearing them. With a denser foam, it's less likely that's going to happen. And so your electronics that you've glued down will most likely not have to deal with shifting around. It's sort of like when it's really, really cold out after summer, your house starts to creak and move and shift, right? Because of the expansion and then the shrinking as well because of the temperature. That happens on a very small level with foam. And so I would say, with 3D print, you don't have to deal with that because that thing is rock hard. But with that's my experience, and most likely it's what I'll do going forward. I know I've had some issues where, so the voice modulator that I was talking about was actually done for Batman, for a Batman cosplay. So I was able to get a Ben Affleck's that voice modulation that he does from Batman versus Superman, I guess the Snyderverse. I was able to do that live because I had a speaker in my chest, and then the little mic was kind of sitting. My Batman had a chin strap, armored chin strap, but I had problems with the mic moving, even if it was super glued down. Because again, just a little bit of movement and it's up against my face and your face is doing this. And so most of it was loose. Most of the costume, most of the the electronics were loose, or I taped it down and that didn't work very well and everything. So I think if you're going to glue it down, foam, I'd recommend the denser the foam, or use attach it. Oops, sorry. Attach it to foam that's been attached to something rigid. So I don't know. Just for example, if a 3D print's really uncomfortable on the inside, and you put some foam on foam lining, that'll work the same way. Compared to like an entirely foam helmet where you can kind of take it and twist it and mold it, and it's not as rigid. That would be my suggestion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's great. That totally makes sense, I think.
I think just like you, I just started doing it this year. So it's been, I mean, hell, it's been a lot of fun. And you are 100% correct. I absolutely went to the next costume, went, I could throw a fan in here now. Like now I know how to do it. Like now I can just do it. And in some cases, the computer fans that I purchased came in like batches of 4 and I needed 6. So I had to do 2. So I've got extra fans, and now I've got these extra fans in there. I'm like, ooh, okay, where can I put them? You know, like let's play around a little bit more, which is always a lot of fun when you finish a project and you're excited for the next one, right?
Yeah. That's also a good point. I found a lot of the stuff that you're gonna buy, it comes in batches. You know, you'll get a ton of them, and even though you don't need all of them, it's great because you can use it for the future, for your future cosplays. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a big thing when it comes to hobby electronics you're going to buy a lot of in batches is the what's it called, shrink tubing.
Oh yeah,
or something, when that kind of stuff, like you're going to get
stuff?
the rubber stuff, the heat gun, you're going to get hundreds of those. You're going to use maybe 50 if you're just starting, but you're going to have like 100 or 200 left. So thankfully, again, like we're saying, you'll get excited for it. Now when it comes,
Noah,
yeah,
there is something I feel like I guess we didn't mention, but is somewhat like the backbone of what we do when it comes to cosplay electronics, and it's I call it like a map. It's a simple map. So if you're approaching electronics, remember this: there's the power. You have your power. You have your control, and then your output. So that's the simple map. And I guess the power goes back. So what I mean by that is power is your battery, right? Whether it be your just batteries like these, or if it's a power bank, right? That's your power. That connects to your control. Your control, again, is optional. When I say control, that's the microcontroller. That's how Iron Man does its thing. That is programmable. So the power goes into the control, and then the control tells the outputs what to do. Your outputs are LEDs, they're servos, they're buttons, whatever it is. And then the power just goes back to your power. That's the simple map. All cosplay builds that have electronics, even in movies, all the stuff you see in movies, they all follow that simple map. And I felt like maybe we should mention that. So what do you think? Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. No, absolutely. I think a great example of this, guys, if you want to see, and I'm not sure if you follow them as well, if you follow Hacksmith, which is another Canadian kind of geek maker group, they are phenomenal at showing the programming and those electronic maps that you're talking about. I'll be completely honest, I did not do that. I knew what was going on in regards to, I knew power was going to go that way. I had my power bank and everything, but I absolutely agree. I think that's part of the research, is planning out before you start cutting, before you start stripping, creating that map and go, okay, lay things out in the way that you're going to make them can also help with just workflow. But that's a great example. But yeah, I would say Hacksmith. Do you follow Hacksmith online?
No, but I'm going to,
yeah, they're phenomenal. They're actually like Southern Ontario based as well.
Man, awesome.
And they've done like they've like made it's like Overwatch weapons, but in real life. Like their whole thing is
Cool.
taking things online. I think they're working on the Fallout power armor currently, but they're making like real
Oh,
world
nice.
versions of. So their whole thing is like is that, and I think they actually share those electronic maps. They
Nice.
share them online or on their Discord or something like that. So,
Yeah.
but yes, no, that's a very, very good point. Part of
Yeah,
the
because
workflow.
what once you know that, then you just follow it. You know
Hmm.
where to solder, where to connect things. Yeah.
Hmm. And did you have on that topic, kind of going back to a lot of research, a lot of this, guys, has to do with a lot of prep work, making sure that you have a lot of prep work done so that when you get going, you're not dealing with a lot of, oh, what do I do now? Oh, this isn't working. You've seen those hilarious videos of like, I did electronics for the first time, and it's like a battery and a fan, and he plugs in the battery, and the battery starts spinning. Have you seen those videos? Like
Yeah.
it's totally fake, right? They've obviously put like a motor or something in the battery pack, but it's a hilarious thing, so you don't have to deal with that. But doing the research, one of the things I wanted to actually talk about as well is, and I was lucky enough that the stuff I was doing, I reached out to another previous guest on So You Want to Be a Cosplayer, CJ Prop Studio. He was doing essentially what I wanted to do, which is adding fans and adding some very basic LEDs. And I just was like, what did you buy? I'm just going to buy what you bought. And then he showed me a photo of how he set his up. So I didn't really have to worry about it. Is something that should be discussed is matching, like you have the correct battery for the kind of light or the kind of motor, so that way everything's being powered the right way? Is that something that someone really should pay attention to, or when it comes to the electronics that we're dealing with, that's not really an issue?
That's a good question. So here's the thing. Like
Mhm.
again, I uh I don't have any background in this.
Yeah.
So what I did is I stuck with power banks, right?
Hmm.
Because I found those are safe, they're reliable.
Hmm.
And I figured anything that I used, it's kind of like low power, low voltage.
Yes. Okay.
But just in case, I had a power system go to like each thing because I was kind of worried that I didn't know how long the batteries would last if everything was plugged into one thing, you know? Again, it's not perfect. It's
Hmm.
probably not the most efficient way, but like it worked. And I've never had any safety issues with it,
Hmm.
nothing overheated. Um, what else? None of my batteries had to be switched out. So I sort of just overcompensated when it came to power. Um, I would say definitely don't go under, right?
Hmm.
Because I think that's when things kind of overheat. I was experimenting, actually, yeah, with fans. That was the
Okay.
last electronic thing I did for Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
I installed some fans, just simple computer fans,
Mm-hmm.
and it was working. Things are spinning. But then the moment I touched the batteries, because I actually used something like this, it was super hot. It would like burn to the touch. So I'm like, okay, wait, something's wrong.
Hmm.
So test your stuff, right?
Yes.
If you trust your gut, I guess.
Hmm.
If something is overheating, there's probably something wrong. Again, I don't know enough to know what happened.
Hmm.
However, I just switched to power banks, and when I did that, everything was fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I basically
Yeah.
used like phone charger banks that are
Yeah.
rechargeable, that have a power button on them, and then the same thing. I did a maximum of two fans per power bank, and I didn't really
Okay.
want to touch anything beyond that. The lights, the eyes are actually just
Yeah.
they're like I don't know what kind of battery they're called, but they're like the little discs, the silver
Oh, yeah,
discs.
yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So that's what the lights are, and they're little pot lights from the dollar store.
Yeah.
That's what those are, and then I stuck them behind like plastic.
Yeah.
Behind. So those
And
are
those
on
are
their own
great.
power, and I know that they're designed to not overheat on those, which is really really good. But yeah, no, I did the same thing. I was like, okay, I'm doing 4 fans maximum, 2 fans per power bank, because I know that this thing can charge a phone. I'm pretty sure a fan is fine, but it's also going to be, I mean, it ended up being all of 30 seconds that I was wearing the suit, the rhino suit. the full rhino suit, but the I knew that most likely over time it probably wouldn't be an issue. And again, I was thankful enough that like I talked to my buddy CJ Prop Studio, and he was just like, no, I've never had a problem. I'm like, cool, because I'm like, what did you buy? I'll just buy that.
Yeah, yeah. It definitely helps if you can just follow like a model, something that someone already can vouch for that works. I guess when it comes to experimentation, that's when it can kind of get tricky. But yeah, again, it helps if you have something that you can just follow and mimic. If you're, I guess, experimenting, be careful, right?
Of course.
Trust your gut. Yeah.
And maybe where some experimenting with like dollar store toys and stuff like that can happen. Like I know I have a what do I have? I've got it's a toy gun that used to light up, make sound, and vibrate. I took that system out of it just to have, and then I could play around and go, okay, but if I take it, remove the vibration, what happens? Oh no, that something in there is pushing power to the rest of it. So it might be worth doing that where you go, okay, this system works. It's proven to work. It's sold the way it is, mass produced. What if I add this? What if I take away that? That might be a good place to start. If you're not going to go from scratch. I say scratch, but like buying like original wires and original servos and original batteries and building it all together. I would say that's probably one way of experimenting.
Yeah, I think something happens in the beginning, right? We'll kind of like practice and all that stuff, but then eventually you start to gain this confidence, and then you start to want to experiment. You start to want to, see what happens if you take things apart or you change things, Yeah. So I wouldn't recommend it in the beginning, especially if you don't have background in it. I definitely wouldn't have tackled it right off the bat. But something does, you never know what can come out of it though. So yeah.
it's the balance, right?
Yeah,
exactly. And again, it could be as simple, guys, as you buying an LED and you just attaching an extension extension cord so that instead of the battery being like 2 inches away from it, which a lot of like LED things I find are that way, and you go, well, I let's just add a foot. Just play with that. Get used to soldering, get used to stripping wires, get used to plugging in a battery or attaching. Okay, I had the issue where I needed a USB-C adapter head, but I could only buy USB. I don't know what they call it, just a regular USB.
Yeah, some other form.
Yeah, exactly. And so I had to like Frankenstein the USB-C head onto a USB, like doing that. Even that will get you confidence so that you don't have to go, oh, I have to wait until my store stocks up on this thing because I don't know how to adapt it. That might be another way of starting it, is just starting off small, that kind of thing. You don't have to do a fully functional Iron Man suit, guys, right off the bat. However, obviously it is fully attainable so long as you do all your research and all that kind of stuff. And again, there are tons of people out here, as we're mentioning, where you can ask questions and go, how'd you do this? Did you run into this issue? That kind of thing. So we've had a great time. I think I've had a really good time. I've learned some things. Hey.
Oh yeah. I love this. This is the kind of stuff that you sort of just lose track of time, and you can talk about it for hours, right? Like I've always wanted to do this with you. Yeah, I'm really glad I'm really glad we got together and did this. This is
100%. No, this has been great. One of the last things I wanted to do is, one of my favorite things about the cosplay community is that we constantly have like 10 projects going on at the same time. I know that Shredder is currently like your current project, but do you have any like dream cosplays that you want to do with Hobby Electronics in mind? Like, I don't know, can we expect a Master Chief coming out at some point, or something like that?
Well, yeah. So because of Comic-Con, it just seemed natural to start a Shredder build because the actor who played Shredder in the movies is going to be there.
Yes.
That was just I just planned that just recently, before all this, I was working on a Lich King cosplay from World of Warcraft, and I wanted to experiment with smoke. We spoke very briefly about smoke, how that's a thing. So that's something I want to try out. I want to put on in a cosplay, and um, there are other ones. Oh, so I do have another Iron Man suit build in the pipeline. It's the
Okay.
Mark 38 Igor. It's the big blue one in
Oh,
Iron Man 3.
is it the one that like holds it
Yeah,
like takes the weight? Oh, dude, awesome. Yes.
yeah. So that's something that's definitely going to be the next Iron Man suit.
Very cool.
And then what I love about cosplay is we choose these costumes. I mean, it's obviously optional. For me, I choose costumes and characters that like I love and stories that I grew up with, things that are really meaningful to me.
Mhm.
And so one of them is this old movie from the 80s. It's called Labyrinth. And there's this big monster guy. His name's Ludo. And he has the power to control rocks. You know, these rocks will roll on their own. And like I feel like that's a technology that exists now. And in Star Wars there's this BB-8 robot, right? It rolls. I think it'd be so cool to go to a convention as this big monster guy with like these rolling rocks, you know, like following you. I don't know if it's possible, but like that's the beauty of cosplay electronics, you know, bringing these characters to life and experiencing that. Yeah. So, you know, you
100%.
never know, right? Like you never know what's possible.
Absolutely. No, and that's phenomenal. Can't wait to see the smoke thing with the Lich King as well. When you do that, because one of the things I want to add to Rhino is I want him to be able to puff smoke out of his nose like a bull, like a charging bull. But I don't know how to do the puffing. I know that I can like let it leak out, but I don't know how to do the puffing. So I want to try and figure that out. But and then same with me. I want to do wings. I haven't done wings yet. Something with wings. And so I've got a cosplay in the pipeline that I won't announce just yet. But one of the cosplays I want to do, and it does have stilts involved because, of course, it's one of the things now where like, oh, you're the stilt guy, you know. I want to do Firefly from the Batman universe, and he's got this really cool kind of like these wings that come out with it's like a jetpack. But one of the things that he's got is he has a flamethrower. And like one of those kind of like longer flamethrowers where like the head kind of sticks out about good 2 feet. And at the end, there's a pilot light. And I've seen some really cool things where you have compressed air and a light in it, so that when it comes out, it looks like the pilot light is working, but it's just air. So that's when it comes to hobby electronics. That's on the horizon for me. I have no idea if I can do it. It's doable. It's 100% doable, guys. You just have to find out, do your research. Do your research, find the right, ask the right questions, and also just try and get more comfortable with electronics because it's attainable.
Happens, right? Yeah, something happens when you get into it. You really level up as a costumer, a cosplayer. You know, like getting into cosplay electronics is definitely one way to level up. Yeah.
100%. Even if it's just, you got an Iron Man costume and you put glowing eyes in and that's it. I can tell you right now that you're going to look at your costume as a whole new level. It's going to just stand out not just to other people, but just to yourself. Like just your own confidence of your own work will increase. And same thing with foam craft. I always bring it to foam crafting because I'm a foam crafter. Once you start adding faux fur and faux leather and different materials into it, everything else just kind of gets a bit more real. So, but thank you very much, Joe, for coming on and talking and giving us some of your wisdom. I really appreciate it. Guys, if you haven't already, again, I'm going to have a few of the links that we've talked about today, including Joe's. Do you have a link tree? It should be downstairs. You'll find this stuff down in the description. However, follow him everywhere because this guy, you're gonna have to keep an eye on him. He's going places, and we all want to come along for the ride. So thank you, Joe, for coming on. I do appreciate it. And again, yes, this needed to happen, and I'm so glad it did.
Thank you, Noah. Thank you for having me, and thank you everyone for
Absolutely.
sticking around and watching.
Absolutely, guys. Well, thank you very much for showing and watching this episode. We've got more episodes coming on my end of things, so please like and subscribe, bell, all that kind of stuff. I've got this series keeps going because we keep learning more stuff about cosplay, and you guys keep wanting to learn more things. So, but yeah, again, if you haven't seen the other episodes of So You Want to Be a Cosplayer, please go and check out. It should be attached to the playlist here. And so you can see some other things. There's some great, even if you're not interested in sewing, for example, it's really, really cool video. So definitely check them out, check them all out, and check out the rest of my channel as well. I've got a bunch of other stuff. So with that, I'm going to end this because I'm terrible at endings. You guys know that. Joe, have a good rest of your day, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more cosplay content.